Hey everybody, it's Pax. Welcome back to the campaign play along. Today we're playing Return to the Wages of Sin with Trish and Diana. Let's check out the tarot reading for this scenario. We got Temperance, and I chose to keep it upright. This is a scenario that I find tends to kick my ass, and frankly, I'd like to squeeze every last bit of experience out of it that I can. So taking +1 sanity in the hopes of not scrubbing out quite so pitifully is going to be helpful. We'll see how that goes. Let's take a look at our deck upgrades. For Trish, I've picked up 2 copies of Cryptic Writings level 2 and a Perception level 2. Overall, I think that a little more economy is going to help me out. The extra flexible icons in Cryptic Writings, if I don't need the economy, is going to help me out. And then the Perception just being a little more card draw also gets me the things that I really want to see. After this, I think I might be working on Lucky Cigarette Case upgrades, but I can't promise anything on that. I'm a little uncertain where Trish is going with all of this. I might need to pick up like a Singleton Pilfer to replace one of my intel reports or something. Just something to put this huge, well-connected boost into. Crushing tests with big values is great, but I don't know what that necessarily wins beyond the Black Throne for you. To that end, I'm probably looking at like Leo DeLuca over my lab assistant and a charisma. That's probably the direction to go if I'm aiming towards beyond the Black Throne. I think that this well-connected thing is really more for the circle tests, and so we'll see how that goes. As for Diana, we're picking up the next copy of I've Had Worse in exchange for one of our Fearless, and a copy of Sixth Sense upgraded. These kind of seem like a bit of a no-brainer. I think the I've Had Worse was justified being delayed for the 2 Azure Flames and the 2 Enchanted Blades, given how much combat happened in the Secret Name. But Diana really hasn't been doing any cluing at all, and I think that the upgraded Sixth Sense is a good way to make sure that she can just like get something in play and kind of set it and forget it. Dark Prophecy is really nice with Sixth Sense. Eventually, I'm going to be getting Eldritch Inspirations to support my Azure Flames when I get them to level 5. I think I want the Eldritch Inspirations in the deck before I get the Azure Flames. And so I think that we're going to be going away from the Clairvoyance upgrades and towards that direction instead. A second Sixth Sense, the Azure Flames level 5. Drop the Clairvoyances maybe for those Eldritch Inspirations. That sounds pretty good to me. So let's take a look at our opening hand for Trish. Do have to pull our damned first, which is going to be Upside Down Lovers. When the game begins, each investigator searches their deck for an ally asset and removes it from the game and shuffles their deck. Well, she's going to remove a Laboratory Assistant from her deck. It's actually like a little bit of a gimme because, frankly, I think the Laboratory Assistant is probably one of the worst cards in my deck at the moment. It's a little slow. The Sanity Soak is nice, but with the cameras I kind of don't need it as much. And frankly, I just prefer to have Rook out if I'm going to have anyone. So at least it's not like a small mulligan or anything. Lucky Cigarette Case, Magnifying Glass, Deduction, and Intel Report. Well, we don't need 2 cigarette cases. I think that a deduction is nice to have early just to get some progress. But I'd kind of prefer to have Rook. So let's do 3. Okay, that's fine. Let's put that hand away. The Cryptic Writings is kind of a bummer to have in your opening hand, but the rest of this is fine. We'll take a look at Diana's opening hand. Fucked it up. We'll take a look at Diana's opening hand. Clairvoyance, Emergency Cash, I've Had Worse, Delayed the Inevitable, and another Clairvoyance. I'm tempted to keep a Clairvoyance, to be honest with you. In fact, I'm tempted to turf a Delay the Inevitable and a Clairvoyance. And I think that I'm actually okay with just that. A Sixth Sense, Terrible Secret, and a Steadfast. Okay. So she's going to spend a bit of time drawing up, but hopefully between Dark Insight and I've Had Worse, she'll get some cancels going, and this Clairvoyance and Sixth Sense thing will be able to help us get these first couple VP locations secured. Now, as for the scenario setup, we do have our introduction here, which we're reading, but there's nothing consequential in that. And then let's just go use the handy button this time. So what does the button do, you say? Well, you click the setup, and it just spawns some clues, randomizes those locations, and you're all good. And as a reminder, this scenario does have that Spectral Encounter deck and Spectral Discard pile We'll have to keep very close attention to that. So we could begin play at the Hangman's Brook, 4 Shroud, 2 Clue location with a Resign. And there's the Haunted Fields, 3 Shroud, 4 Clues. Spectral enemies at the Haunted Field get +1 horror value, victory 1. And the Abandoned Chapel, 2 Shroud. During the Mythos phase, each investigator in an Abandoned Chapel gets -1 to each skill. Before we get going much further, we also have to keep in mind that we have an extra skull in the bag from having taken the Black Book. And that skulls are -X, where X is 1 higher than the number of copies of unfinished business in the victory display, so that's currently at -1. And the tablets are -3s if you fail. Trigger the forced ability on a copy of unfinished business in your threat area as if it were the end of the round. Notably, nothing is really happening on drawing these at the moment. This is the only one that triggers like as a bad effect, and only if you have one in front of you. So, failing tests is really just about haunted abilities on locations. For the act and agenda, we have a 8 Doom requirement on the Hanged Man, and a 6 Clue requirement on In Pursuit of the Dead with the effect locations cannot be flipped over. Okay, as for Trish, we'll start with her. We'll spend 2 for a lucky cigarette case. We'll spend 1 for a magnifying glass. We'll take a move action. Head up to the Abandoned Chapel. We've got a 2 Shroud there. During the Mythos phase, each investigator in Abandoned Chapel gets -1 to each skill. Victory 1. Got a lot of clues to pick up, so let's get going. And we'll investigate with this Burning the Midnight Oil, committing a deduction to be 6 against 2. An Elder Sign. Ooh. If this is an investigation, you may choose any revealed location. You're now investigating as if you were at that location instead. And you know what? I am going to go ahead and get the 2 clues off of here instead, because it's a higher Shroud value, and that might be a bit trickier for me to get them off of. And in addition to that, she does get her draw from her lucky cigarette case, which is a Hawkeye folding camera. Very good. Very, very nice. Did forget to take those 2 resources from the Burning the Midnight Oil there. Great start for Trish. Diana, on the other hand, she's going to move up to Trish, spend 3 for her Sixth Sense, and then she's going to just play an emergency cash to get that 3 back. Upkeep on Trish gets her a Working a Hunch. Very good. Upkeep on Diana gets her a Clairvoyance. I see. That's not very good, actually. That's kind of bad. I need her to get her attack stuff. Okay. 1 out of 8 Doom. Our first encounter card for Trish. Witchweed. You toss this into the Spectral Encounter deck. It's decent in terms of, like, not getting too dunked upon too early, but it also does kind of suck not getting this on, say, Diana, and being able to shove it away for another turn. So here it goes. And then Diana gets Trespasser. This test gets +1 difficulty for each non-weakness treachery in your threat area. If you fail, take 2 damage or 2 horror. Well, we're going to be I've had worse than that when we fail in a moment. -1. I've had worse. 2 resources to cancel it. +1 willpower. 1 resource and a draw for having had canceled it. And that goes away. So we're going to go ahead with Trish first. We're going to spend 2 resources for her Hawkeye folding camera. We'll get that active sooner rather than later. And then we're just going to toss out a bunch of investigates again. So we're going to investigate 5 against 2. A -2. That is a clue off the location. Didn't succeed by 2, though. And then another investigate. -3. Still a clue off the location. Still a good start. Now over to Diana. I think that we're going to spend a little bit of time drawing some cards. First draw is an obsessive. Fine. I don't like that. Oh, God, I really don't want to have to just clear this turn, but this is going to be really painful if we don't, so let's just clear it. Upkeep for Trish gets her a Mr. Rook. Great, just in time. And upkeep for Diana gets her a Guts, which is fine. I think with this Dark Prophecy, we can force another cancel and get her a little bit more stacked than her willpower. Even with the Steadfast, we could just start investigating with Sixth Sense if we wanted to. 2 out of 8 Doom. Encounter card for Trish. There's a Coven Initiate. Discard the top 2 cards of the encounter deck. If this causes the encounter deck to run out of cards, draw the topmost hex card of the encounter discard pile. It's not going to happen, but we do. Let's go see what those 2 are. We get Despoiled away and a Ominous Portents away, which are both fairly good, I think, to be rid of. Despoiled is very annoying, so I'm happy with that. And then for Diana, she gets another Trespasser. Okay. She might be forced to just eat this, but I think a comment that I got from someone who's been watching my videos and was that they see me never play Dark Insight for the whole scenario, and I think it's a very fair criticism about how I'm playing her. But since I don't have Ward of Protection 2s, I'm kind of like trying to save it for the thing that's going to kill me. But with how poorly this start is going with her, I think I'm just going to cancel this and shuffle it back into the deck. So let's spend our 2 for that. We'll draw a card and gain a resource, get a willpower, and this will be shuffled back into the deck. Now, the question is, how do I want to evade this Covenant Initiate with Trish? Do I want to just evade it and then do an investigate to get 2 clues? Or would I rather like pay my working a hunch to evade her for free and then get to go do stuff? And I think the answer is that I prefer to do the working a hunch to get that clue for free and evade her. And then get to go do stuff. So that's no actions. Then she's going to play Rook for 1, 2, 3. And then she's going to investigate the location second action. Be 5 against 2. We're going to use Mr. Rook to look at the top 9 cards of the deck for a card. There's the Shadow Agents that we're forced to draw. What do we want to get out of this? Well, another magnifying glass isn't very useful. Perception just fills my hand up a little bit better. So let's take that Perception. We'll commit the Perception into it. We're going to be a lot against 2. We've already used this ability, though. So I'm going to have to evade him after this, which I totally forgot about. Let's see if I can. We definitely succeed by 2, so that's 1 draw from the Lucky Cigarette case, 2 draws from the Perception, and the last clue off the location also gets us our Hawkeye folding camera. I think I'm also going to dump this Cryptic Writings for 3 resources. I might need this to commit, but I feel like I can't not. Alright, well, let's just try and evade the Shadow Agents. We'll do +3, so we'll be 7 against 5. 7 against 5 isn't great. It would be very nice to have 1 more token. And we will get 1 more from Diana, unfortunately, off of this Dark Prophecy. So 8 against 5. A 0. We do succeed. So he gets discarded. Draw a card from our Manual Dexterity. And this all goes away. Now, as for Diana, I think that she needs to just spend a bit of time drawing for combat. So we'll draw once for an Enchanted Blade, and then we will 1, 2 for a Holy Rosary, getting another Willpower, and then 1, 2, 3 for an Enchanted Blade, getting a combat option for this Witch. Okay, so upkeep for Trish. That's a deduction. Very good. And then upkeep for Diana. She gets the Covenant Initiate engaged with her, and she gets a Deny Existence, which we will want to hold on to for her weakness. 3 out of 8 Doom. An encounter card for Trish is Grave Light. If this is drawn from the standard encounter deck, shuffle it into the Spectral encounter deck, and it gains Surge. Surges into a Maligned. Increase the cost of each card you play by 1. We should be able to get rid of that pretty reasonably, though. And then Diana gets a Despoiled. After you succeed at a skill test during your turn, increase the difficulty of each subsequent test you perform this turn by 1. So that's a little annoying, but that's really not the worst thing in the world. We'll go ahead with Diana first. We're going to fight the Covenant Initiate. We will be at 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 against 2. That is defeated, and I can choose a card beneath her and add it to my hand. So I've got the Blade now, and I'm tempted to get the Dark Insight back. Yeah, I'm going to get the Dark Insight back. So that kills the Covenant Initiate. I do lose that, but that's fine. So I have +1 difficulty to my tests now this turn. I think we're going to go ahead and just advance the act right now. Spawn a set-aside heretic enemy at each of the following locations. Done. Add 2 clues per investigator to each of those locations. Add 1 clues per investigator to each other location. Check the campaign log. If you have 3 more mementos listed, you understand the tragic lyrics behind the witch's song. Each investigator puts into play 1 set-aside spectral web asset under his or her control. I do get that, because I have 5 mementos. In Pursuit of the Living. As a free triggered ability, you can flip your location over, group limit once per round at each location. Clues cannot be discovered at non-spectral locations. So Sixth Sense is not as good now. But It's still fine. I'll still get clues with Diana, and it will feed into this Spectral Web card, which we'll look at in a moment. Objective: banish as many heretics as you can. If there are 4 copies of unfinished business in the victory display, advance. My objective is to get 1. Because 1, I believe, prevents something bad from happening, or gives you a memento. I don't remember which. But I know that 1 is fine. I'll get as many as I can, though. As for the Spectral Web asset we both got, investigators at your location spend 1 to 3 clues as a group. Fight. Use this ability only to attack a Geist enemy. You may choose to use your willpower instead of your fight for this attack. You get plus X skill value, plus X damage for this attack, where X is the amount of clues you spent. So Diana should be able to kill the Geists in relatively short order when they pop up. And this is what the board looks like. We've got our heretics going on there. We're going to immediately use the ability to flip over the Abandoned Chapel. During the Mythos phase, each investigator in Abandoned Chapel gets -1 to each skill. I already knew that. Have I been taking that into consideration? Yes. I think I've only tested 2 things during the Mythos phase. But then Haunted until the end of the round, you get -1 to each skill. So this has 2 more clues for me to pick up to get this 1 VP. Now, as for what we're actually going to do for the rest of our turn, I was tempted to get rid of Maligned off of Trish, but this +1 difficulty, bring that up to a 4. I actually have to put like a Guts and a Steadfast into that. I guess it's not unreasonable. Yeah, let's test that off for. We'll put a Guts and a Steadfast into that. A -3. So that does succeed. We get a card draw from the Guts. And we get to discard the Maligned. We have +1 difficulty, even more. And then past that, I think we're just going to either take a card draw or move away. And I don't know which it is. I think I take a card draw. Okay, an overpower is good to see with Enchanted Blade. Now, as for Trish, what are we doing here? I don't think we can place evidence again, because this is still the same location. It's still the Abandoned Chapel, even though it's, got new stuff on it. It is still the same location. I can't clear the clues off of this again to get that ability triggered. But I still do want the clues. It'll be helpful for our Spectral Webs, so let's go ahead and investigate, let's say, just the 5 against... is 5 good enough? Yeah, 5 against 2 is fine. A 0, so we get the Lucky Cigarette Case draw. Nice, well connected, it's good to see. And we get a clue. And we'll investigate it again. The +1 that time, we get the other clue. That's the VP secured. And then I think last action for Trish, we are going to go ahead and take the move. We're going to move over to this Haunted Fields. Now I'm looking at the board here, and I'm realizing I think that this got shortchanged 2 clues on that act flip, because it got 4 clues on each of the chapels, or each of these ghost heretic spawning areas, and 2 more on each of these. So I think this is missing 2. I did not pick up 2 from that at the outset. And I think we're going to not flip this now, in fear of the Mythos phase maybe doing something nasty at a Spectral location. Notably, Diana is going to have to start pulling off the Spectral location and counter deck, so we're going to have to be really careful about this. So Trish gets her upkeep. That's a hot streak. Very good timing on these. And then Diana, those difficulty increases fade away, and we get our upkeep of a Drawn to the Flame. That's a pretty good timing, too, to be honest with you. Drawn to the Flame is pretty good right now. I guess it is important. I never really went over these, but I got a 4 Shroud location with this Witch Defeat condition. I've got this 7 Shroud location right now for each Witch enemy in play. These are all Witches. Gross. 4 Shroud with this forced ability. After you draw cards, they get placed here, and then you have to successfully investigate to add them back to people's hands. And then this 6 Shroud Chapel Crypt. Well, there's no ready enemies at the Chapel Crypt, it gets -3 Shroud. So there's a lot going on with, especially this one. These are all relatively high Shrouds, but Drawn to the Flames can be pretty valuable. 4 out of 8 Doom. Trisha's getting 1 more card from the normal deck. It's the Priestess of the Coven. Trish has +1 fight and +1 evade because there's a Witch in the encounter discard pile. That's a bummer. And I'm just going to swamp these out really quickly, and this is how I'm going to be handling this. Let's not forget the discard pile either. Counter card for Diana. The Witchweed from the Spectral location deck trigger each haunted ability on your location twice. You may give Witchweed Surge to place it in the standard encounter discard pile. So we get -1 to each skill until the end of the round. That is really gross. But what's a lot cooler is that I can just Dark Insight that again. Shuffle that back into the... what does that say? What does Dark Insight tell you to do? Shuffle it back into its deck. Okay, fine. So we get a card and a resource, and we shuffle this back into that deck. Okay, so I think Diana's coming over and trying to kill that big witch for Trish right off the bat. It would have been nice to get 2 clues off of this, like get some clue acceleration for Trish off of this, but I think that's just not happening. I don't really want to evade her before I do other stuff. Like, having a well-connected and a bunch of money is kind of my evade tech on Trish. Her 4 is fine, but it's not great, and I guess I could evade it. What would I be? 6 against 3? I don't know. I wouldn't mind keeping the manual dexterities for the heretics if she needs to be tanking them and chasing them around and stuff. Plus, this chick just gets worse and worse. So we'll take a move with Diana. Shove her over. Once again, this is a 3/3/3 right now because there's 1 witch in the discard pile. We're going to take an attack with 2 charges from the Enchanted Blade. That's 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 against 3. That's as high as I can get it. I could technically play this Delay the Inevitable onto Trish and the rare chance that she gets hit by this, but I think I just assume not. Pull the -3, so I hit pretty respectably. I think she gets discarded. Let's make sure she goes to the right discard pile first. This is going to be just a grand old time. Remove that confusion by flipping this over to the Spectral Haunted Fields so that I don't start fucking that up. We do get +1 difficulty. Do I use the Drawn to the Flame here? No, I don't think I do. I think I just Sixth Sense. Yeah, a Sixth Sense isn't the worst thing in the world here. I can investigate 6 against 4. It's not great, but it's better than nothing. A 0, so I get a clue off the location. Fine. Okay, as for Trish, I think she's going to go ahead and just do this. 1, 2, 3 for a hot streak, gaining 10. Put her up to 13. Let's get that out. Let's get the well-connected out. And now we are rolling in cash. We're going to investigate the location. That puts us at 4, 5. We're going to use Rook after we look at our cards. So 6, 7, 8. And then we'll use Rook after that's all gone off. I just wanted to get Tower out of my deck, but I don't want to fudge not being able to put in a deduction into this test. So we don't get the Tower, but we do get to draw a card out of these. Well, we don't want the Lucky Cigarette case. We already have one. Money Talks would be okay. Kind of uninspiring choice of cards. We'll take a Working a Hunch to get a free evade or 2 clues off of one of these spectral locations with the witches. Anyways, we were at a lot against 3. We get not enough to make us fail, so we get 2 clues off of that. Didn't mean to click that. Also, a card draw off that Lucky Cigarette case. Gets me a Nimble. Cool. There's 1 clue left on the location, so we're good there. Take a look at our upkeep for Trish. It's a Money Talks. Good. Upkeep for Diana, where that falls away, and she gets a Steadfast. Also pretty good, I think. That's definitely good. We'll go up to 5 out of 8 Doom. Let's start hitting these spectral encounters. We get the Malevolent Spirit, the Chapel Attic, or Chapel Crypt. While Malevolent Spirit is at a spectral location, it gains Hunter and gets +1 damage and +1 horror value. So it's at the Chapel Attic or Chapel Crypt. That's the ones on this side of the map. We'll just, it doesn't really matter which he goes on right now, because either way, he's equidistant from us. We'll put him at this one. It's not a spectral location yet, so he does not have Hunter, and he does not have +1 damage and +1 horror. So for now, we don't have to deal with him, but eventually we will, and fortunately we have spells and relics that prevent this forced ability that heals him, exhausts him, and moves him away from us. Alright, and then for Diana, we get the Screeching Banshee. When you deal 1 or more damage to Screeching Banshee, except from a spell or relic, resolve each haunted ability at its location. So fortunately, that's another thing for us to kill. How do we want to go about this? Do we want to kill this guy first with Diana? I think the answer is just yes. And unfortunately, it has to be a bunch of swings with the Enchanted Blade. So let's do 1 swing first with no charges into it. We're at 5 against 3. Put the Overpower in to be 7 against 3. -3. So that's a hit for 1 damage. We get a card draw from Overpower. That's the Azure Flame. Very nice to see. We'll do our next attack with the Enchanted Blade, with the Steadfast put into it, I believe. So we'll be at 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 7, 8, 9 against 3. -1. He is dead. He did have +1 difficulty on that, so this has been triggered twice, but that would not have made me fail. And then last action, I think we're just going to play a new weapon out. And is it going to be the Azure Flame, or is it going to be the other Enchanted Blade? I think because our willpower is still a little low, we're going to play the other Enchanted Blade first. Now for Trish, we're going to do the same dealie as before. We're going to first action investigate. It'll be 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 against the Shroud of 3, and then we'll just use Rook to look at the top 9 cards of the deck again. There's the Tower added to our hand, and we will take our other Hot Streak. Yes, we'll take our other Hot Streak to get even more money, so with this Well-Connected can probably start getting used twice a turn. Anyways, a lot against 3. We get that clue. We get a Lucky Cigarette Case draw. I don't remember if I shuffled that, so I'll shuffle it again. We get the clue. The Black Books. Very nice to see. We get the evidence on the Hawkeye folding camera. A lot going on in a single action there. And then we'll just take a little bit of time. We will play the Tower for 1, 2, 3, 4. What else will we do? We'll either play the Black Book over the Magnifying Glass, or we'll play the Hot Streak. And I think the correct thing to do first is play the Hot Streak. That'll bring us up to 15. So that'll make us nice and resilient to the Mythos phase with Well-Connected for a little bit. I'll be able to get this Black Book out over my Magnifying Glass. And we're going to start going to find which heretics we're going to be dealing with. Yeah. Okay, upkeep for Trish, an Intel Report. An upkeep for Diana with her Despoiled, clearing for the turn. A Guts. 6 out of 8 Doom. Still on the Spectral deck. Counter card for Trish is the Gravelight. If it's from the Spectral Encounter deck, take 2 damage and place it in the Standard Encounter discard pile. So we're going to go 1, 2. This goes in the Standard Encounter discard pile. And then Diana gets Unstable Energies. When you leave the attached location, resolve each Haunted ability on it. At the end of the round, if there are no investigators at the attached location, discard Unstable Energies. That is a very strange thing to have gotten. So what this does is now when we leave here, and when we leave is before we've left, we have to resolve the Haunted ability. So move the nearest spectral enemy once towards the haunted fields. Well, this has to be one of the heretics. And not only that, the heretic moves wouldn't be at a spectral location and would so engage one of us. But since we've already initiated the move, they don't attack us. And then we move. So we can either have this do nothing, because we would immediately move into a location that isn't spectral. We would immediately move into a location that's non-spectral, and it would gain aloof and it can no longer be engaged or damaged. So we would just bounce off of us. Or we could have it come here and stay here with the other investigator. And that would be very interesting indeed. I don't know if we'd need to do it necessarily, but it would be very interesting. Now that's a lot of things for me to have just said, ultimately, that I need to get this despoiled off of Diana. So let's try to do that first. We're going to be at 4 against 3. We can get a Guts into this. That's reasonable. I don't mind a Guts into this. I would really like another boost, to be honest. Losing that Dark Insight, or not Dark Insight, excuse me, Dark Prophecy was a little rough on my willpower value here, but I think 3 up is about as good as I can get right now. So we'll test this Despoiled off of ourselves. Just hope it doesn't whiff. -2, cool. So we draw a card with Guts. There's the Terrible Secret. We get to cancel that with Deny Existence. Let's get rid of this first. Let's put that away next. Let's put this in the discard pile because we're Deny Existencing it. Boom, boom, boom. Okay, cool. That was a pretty strong first action, I think. Next, I think I'll do what I said I was going to do, which is move up to the location, forces this guy down here, and then she engages us, but then we're moving there, and so she bounces back off because she can no longer be engaged. I think we're going to spend Diana's Clue to look at what that heretic does. We'll see. It is the one where if you're at the chapel attic and it has no clues, you test four intellect or agility, and if you succeed, the ghost is banished, and you resolve the below text. Add this card to the victory display. So we have to. Let's get some symbols going here. I learned this one from Philion over at twitch.tv/FYLION. I play with him Monday nights there, on and off. But yeah, using these markers to remember stuff so you don't have to put it in your brain is great. So if you're at the chapel attic, which is this one, so this green token, which I've marked on the chapel attic, now goes on this heretic. And that makes it so I know I need to bring this heretic over here. I think last action I'm just drawing a card. It's a shriveling. So that's fine, actually. You know, that's a decent icon to be putting into an enchanted blade swing. I swing at 7. Getting up to 8's good. Okay, for Trish, she's going to do something very similar. She's going to walk out. And then that's going to make this one engage her. And then, boom, drop off of her as well. And she's coming to the heretic's grave. And she's going to spend a clue to look at what this one does. That's one clue off her. We get to look at this one, which is, if you're, keep this card in your threat area, this side face up. If you're eliminated, flip it over. At the end of the round, you must either discard an asset you control or flip this card back to its enemy side. If you are at Hangman's Brook and it has no clues on it, test a skill of your choice 5. If you succeed, the ghost is banished. Well, Hangman's Brook is all the way back at the start, but that's pretty reasonable to get done, I think. That's probably one of the easier ones to do. We just need a sacrificial asset to be able to do that. Because I don't think we can get there. I think we banish her and then also get her here in one turn. And also pass the test 5. That's probably not happening. Not without a big evade on a nimble or something. And so what we'll do is we'll use, I guess I don't know how these are going to shake out. So I'll just use the yellow one from over here to do that. And I'll just keep these 2 off to the side to mark these other 2, however they become relevant. Now that's a little unfortunate because it didn't tell me that either of these locations need their clues revealed. Their clues discovered, and so now I need to bring one over to where one already is. It's a little unfortunate. I might be tempted to just come back to the Hangman's Brook with Trish to start clearing clues off of that. Flip it over, start getting the clues off, and then come back and bring it over. Yeah, and I think that is what I'm gonna do. Like I said, I'm really here for. Oh, this is brilliant. Yes, no. This is good. This is very good. Watch this. I move here. Second action, excuse me. I move again. When you leave the attached location, you resolve the haunted ability on it. Move the nearest spectral enemy once towards the haunted fields. Pops into Trish's threat area, and then she moves down here. And this guy comes with me and immediately pops off because he can no longer be engaged at a non-spectral location. So now all I have to do is get all these clues off after flipping her, and then kill her. So Diana beelines it down, and we get our 1, and we have her location to resign kind of cleared off. So that's one of them pretty well on the way to getting done. We just need to be worried about the Watcher when she pops up. Okay, upkeep for Trish. That's another Mr. Rook. Upkeep for Diana. That's an Overpower. Also, again, good to see some combat icons. We're at 7 of 8 Doom. This is going pretty fast, but like I said, I'm really only aiming to get one of them done if I can. Counter card for Trish is going to be a Bloodthirsty Spirits. While your location is haunted, as an additional cost for you to commit 1 or more cards to a skill test, you must resolve each haunted ability on your location. Okay. That's probably a bit of a problem, but we can probably also test this off with a well-connected test if we need to. So that's fine. And then Diana gets another Screeching Banshee, which again is it's fine. This isn't a make or break situation. It gives me an opportunity to, I guess, churn through this Overpower a little bit. But it would have been nicer to go down and be able to help Trish right away with that Heretic. So let's start with Diana and see if we're reasonably getting down there quickly enough. So one thing I guess I can do is spend 2 on a Delay the Inevitable, and then take a move action canceling this guy's 2 attack, putting this under me for a willpower and a card draw and a resource back. And, this would have discarded at the end of the last round. I missed that. And when I was discarding this Unstable Energies, I also noticed this Despoiled would have been discarded to here instead. Anyway, so she's down at the Haunted Fields now. And now she can just take a swing with the Enchanted Blade for... I guess another thing is whether or not I am conserving my charges or not. And I think the answer is that at this point I'm not, because I have this Azure Flame to back it up. But maybe I do conserve charges a little bit. I also have the Spectral Web to be fighting the heretics. So I think the answer is that I'm just going nuts on this guy with the Enchanted Blade, trying to get some action efficiency out of this. 7 against 3. +1. He's toast. That's good. And then last action, we'll just move down to Trish. So we're going to immediately flip this, which is going to have the heretic engage one of us, and let's just put her on Diana so that Trish gets a free turn. And then Trish gets to do some cool things, and I'm trying to figure out what they are before I get too far ahead of myself. Let's just double check this version of Hangman's Brook. It is Resign, whose bright idea was this anyways. Haunted, place a clue from the supply on Hangman's Brook. Okay, that's kind of annoying, but it's 3 shrouds, so it's not too crazy. I would have preferred the 1 shroud version, but fine. So we have to... I think that we have to use an intel report for 1, 2, 3, 4 for 2 clues, and then use Trish's ability because there's an enemy at our location for the 3rd clue. And then second action, we'll do an investigate with the well-connected to be 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 against 3. -1, that triggers the Lucky Cigarette case for a card draw. And then that just gives her the opportunity to do what? I think it's going to be 1, 2, 3 to play a black book over this magnifying glass. I think that's pretty good. And at the end of their turn, we're testing 3. If you succeed, discard Bloodthirsty Spirits. Am I paying into this with a well-connected to get more uses? I don't think so. I think I'm just testing 4 against 3 and seeing if it falls off of me. It doesn't. And currently no unfinished business, so nothing happens from that. Now, enemy phase, the heretic is going to attack Diana, but she is going to spend 1 for this dodge, getting her last willpower point there, getting a card and a resource back, taking no damage from that. And then we get upkeep on Trish, which is the other Lucky Cigarette case, and an upkeep on Diana, which gives her ritual candles, for which she will discard this Clairvoyance. That gets us to 8 Doom, which is a little bad timing on our end, but it's okay. Flip each location to its spectral side. Put the set-aside Spectral Watcher enemy into play at Hangman's Brook. Shuffle the remainder of the set-aside the Watcher encounter set into the Spectral encounter deck, along with the Spectral discard pile. So the Watcher's going to get engaged with Diana. We're now all Spectral locations. These have all got these nice, juicy Haunted abilities on them, in addition to everything else they're doing. We've got a 7 Doom threshold where locations can no longer be flipped back. And I think we're good. And by good, I of course mean fucked. Let's see what we get. Burdens of the Past. If there's no copy of Unfinished Business in your threat area, Gate Surge. Fine. Fine. Bane of the Living. Choose an Unfinished Business card in play, flip it to its heretic side, and place damage on it equal to half, or discard a card from the top of the Spectral encounter deck until a Geist enemy is discarded to spawn that enemy engaged with you. That is a bummer. So let's see who we get. Hello? Alright. The Screeching Banshee. We're pretty buried in enemies right now. Pretty bad timing in all this to have happened. And then Diana gets an Unstable Energies. After you leave the attached location, resolve each haunted ability on it. At the end of the round, if there are no investigators at the attached location, discard Unstable Energies. I really want to ward this. But placing clues here doesn't matter, so why would I do that? As long as we don't have to leave before we banish this, banish this heretic, we're good. Okay, so we're going to start with Diana because Diana's going to try and kill this heretic. First... Oh, this is tricky. So this can only be used to fight the Geists, right? It can't be used to fight the Watcher. So I need to conserve these attacks with the Enchanted Blade for the Watcher, or to conserve the Azure Flame attacks for the Watcher. That was one thing I'd forgotten about. Anyways, we're attacking with the Spectral Web into the Heretic. We have 8 clues available on Trish. And the way this works is I can spend 1 to 3 and get +3 attack for the +3 skill value and +3 damage for the attack, or +1 and +1 or +2 and +2. Now 2 attacks at +2 deals enough damage, and I think that that's like as efficient as I am willing to get. So we'll spend 2 clues to do an attack. We'll be at like 9 against 4. That's super reasonable. Let's get those 2 clues spent, and we're going to be doing another attack as well. So we'll get half the clues that Trish has available spent. It's 2 3 damage attacks with the Spectral Web. The first one, that's a 3 damage successful. And then the next one, that's a 3 damage successful. The Spectral Watcher, the Heretic is flipped. And now, at the end of the round, I must either discard an asset I control or flip this card back to its enemy side. But fortunately, Trish is going to be testing this off very soon. So we're good there. And then I think, last but not least, we're just going to attack into the Banshee on Trish with this full Enchanted Blade attack. We're going to play an Azure Flame to deal with the Watcher, is what we're going to do. She can hit us for a bit. We're at 7/7. We've taken no damage. And so her attacking us isn't a big deal, but I would rather have Trish's turn not be inhibited at all right now. And so I'm attacking 7 against 3 on that Geist. That's on her. +1, that guy's dead as well. Okay, great. So, I think I forgot to put my evidence on the Hawkeye folding camera for clearing this location. So I'm actually at 8 sanity. I just misspoke with Diana a second ago. She's actually at 7-8. So we're very, very strong on that front. So let's do the well-connected. Actually, rather than just going for the well-connected, I could take a resource first to put me up 1 skill. And I think that's a reasonable play. So I'll take 1 resource to go up 1 skill. Then I'll use the well-connected with testing intellect, so I'll be at 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 against 5. The -1. I don't think I've ever read this one before. So at the bottom of the riverbank, you find the spirit's remains. You dig a shallow grave beside the brook, and there you lay its body to rest, dry and safe at long last. Added to the victory display. The sad hex zone. Our skulls just got 1 worse. And now what? A surprisingly good question. I'm kind of considering engaging the Spectral Watcher so that I can evade her next turn and get a big nimble move away from her, so that we can get 1 more Heretic. Because I think 2 Heretics is definitely something I can do with the remaining Doom we have. I'm just a little worried about how possible it actually is versus how possible I think it is. If this Bloodthirsty Spirits falls off of me, that's a super entirely reasonable play. And I might even use this Money Talks to try and make this a bit more likely. Because I'm only at 4 against 3. I can get the 6 against 3 right now with my Money Talks. So I think I am going to engage the Spectral Watcher for the purpose of doing an evade on her next turn. At the end of my turn, I test this. Let's put that Money Talks into it. 6 against 3. That's discarded. So we're a lot stronger on that front. We'll have Rook die from the Spectral Watcher's attack. And then we'll do Upkeep for Perception. And Upkeep over here for a Drawn to the Flame. These 2 Drawn to the Flames are pretty good. Let's get rid of the Clairvoyance. I think the Clairvoyance is just bad at this point. 1 out of 7 Doom. An encounter card for Trish. She gets another Screeching Banshee. It's kind of a pain in the ass, but ultimately it is a 1 evade guy, and so that's not the worst thing in the world. And Diana gets Unavoidable Demise, testing 3 against 2. 2 damage, also not the worst thing in the world to just take. And I don't have any cancels right now. I could cancel with Ward, but I don't think that's a worthwhile ward. A -2, so I just take 2 damage. Fine. Okay, so Trish. What are you doing this turn, honey? You're evading this Screeching Banshee for sure. 4 against 1. That's 1 action. Second action would be evading the Watcher, which would send her across the map. and then she'd still be engaged with a heretic after having evaded the Watcher. But I think that's okay, because then she can play a Working Hunch to get a clue and evade it, so she doesn't have to take the damage. Or she could just play a Working Hunch and get 2 clues. That's also super reasonable. Another thing to keep in mind is this Malevolent Spirit, who I might have just forgot to hunt. I think that's correct. And so he's going to move here. It's absolutely correct, because I am 1 Doom in, and so there's been a full turn of him being at a spectral location. So he should have hunted to me for sure. So we're just going to go ahead with Trish's turn. She's going to be 4 against 1. Can I put a single icon into this? I think the answer is no. We're just going to be 3 up. -2. So he is evaded at least. Now we're going to evade the Spectral Watcher. 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 against 3. We definitely want those moves, as many of them as we can get. -2. Draw a card from Lucky Cigarette Case. Draw a card from Manual Dexterity. Get the evade at the location. And then pull the Nimble for 3 moves. I think that is going to send us... I think what we're going to do with her is go up to the Heretic and pick this Heretic up. I think that's okay. So that gets us the Heretic. I guess the question is, do I try to bring the Heretic closer by myself? It's nice to have gotten another Nimble. If another enemy spawns on me, then I can use that as a big move, a move dump. The question I think I have is, do I just start taking move actions to bring the Heretic over to try and solve that? And let Diana kill it over there? Or do I, do an attack to get some damage on it? That's almost kind of tempting as well. I have this Lucky Cigarette Case and Rook to just dump into a test with the Spectral Web. In fact, I could go... What could I do? I could go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 to get 3 damage on it for the Heretic. And I think that's actually kind of reasonable. I think I'm going to do that last action. Yeah. I'm going to do that last action. -3. So that does hit for 3 damage. Nice. Not bad. Important to note that dropped the clue when she moved out. Alright, Diana's going to play her Azure Flame for 1, 2, 3. She's going to move up to that Hunting Spirit. Right there. Get him engaged with me. And then she's going to go ahead and use a charge of her Azure Flame to hit him for 2 damage with 9 against 2 or something. It's actually kind of crazy how high up we are on that. So 9 against 2, a -2, he's toast. Once again, that did spawn a clue back here because of this Unstable Energies, which I'm just going to discard now because I'm going to forget if I don't. Similarly, I'm going to ready both of them now because if I don't do it now, I'm going to forget. So over here, the Heretic does hit Trish for 1 and 1, but I think that's okay. I don't think that's the biggest thing. Then we get Upkeep on Trish for a Magnifying Glass. That's just icons at this point. And Upkeep on Diana, the Twilight Blade. That will be pretty useful, I think. I think that's actually very good now, because this lets me start recurring some of these, and it also lets me hit for 1 damage once in a while. Yeah, that's actually really good, and I want to get that in play. Okay, 2 out of 7 Doom. Counter card for Trish is a Fate of All Fools. Kind of sucks on... Oh, no, it's good on her. It sucks on Diana, it's good on her. And then on Diana, we get the Bloodthirsty Spirits, but that's also fine because she's not really in a position where she needs to do any of that stuff. So that's pretty good. Now, as unfortunate as it is, I think that we have to have Diana come in and help out with killing that guy off. I was really hoping Trish would be able to walk over. Actually, no. I'm wrong. I'm very wrong when I say that. What I mean to say is that Trish can absolutely kill this guy because she can just use her Well Connected. So she's going to spend 2 clues. Before she does that, she's going to spend a Working the Hunch and get 2 clues off the location. But then she spends 2 of her clues to attack with the Spectral Web. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 against 4. -3. That's the other 3 damage. That defeats this Spectral Watcher, which flips it. And now it's in my threat area. At the end of the round, you can either lose 2 resources or flip it back to its enemy side. So that's kind of convenient what she did. And then I think she's just going to take 2 moves. And that's going to go 1, 2, and I picked up these 2 clues for what it's worth. And now for Diana, I'm kind of more tempted to just use her to run interference. As like scummy as that would probably be, I kind of want to do that. So we're gonna go 1, 2, 3 for a Twilight Blade. We're going to draw. Excuse me. We're gonna take a resource, and then we're gonna take a resource, and then we're gonna play a delay the inevitable on ourselves for 2 resources. So these guys are both gonna hunt, and they're both going to go and engage Diana. I did forget to test the Bloodthirsty Spirits off. It is still on me, so I cannot commit cards without resolving the haunted abilities. Anyways, they both hunted to me. First, the Spectral Watcher attacks, and I will use Twilight Blade to play I've Had Worse out from underneath me. Cancel. Hello. Can I get the right one? I've Had Worse out from underneath me, gaining 2 resources and canceling the 2 incoming damage and horror. And then the Screeching Banshee will attack, and I will trigger a Delay the Inevitable to cancel all that, drawing a card and gaining a resource. So they effectively didn't do anything. Then we get Upkeep on Trish. She has to lose 2 resources or else flip the card back over. And then Upkeep on Diana. She gets a dodge that is really well timed. Up to 3 out of 7 Doom. A counter card for Trish. She gets an Unavoidable Demise. She's probably going to pass this one. Probably going to pass this by accident. Not really even meaning to, I think. It's a possibility. She's only 4 against 2. She could commit the Nimble to try and get a move out of it, but kind of don't want to. We still need to get the clues at this other location with the Heretic. We might have to just investigate through it and get the evade off that way. And to that effect, maybe we do commit the Nimble. Yeah, we do commit the Nimble. We even do a Well-Connected. So we get +2 skill value. Will be 4, 5, 6, 7 against 2. That's a -2 right now. And so we do succeed by 3. We did succeed by 2 for the Lucky Cigarette case draw. We get this in the shadows, which makes it so that guy won't be able to engage us. This goes next to the agenda, and we get our move. So we're going to move up here. He's going to engage us. And the Unavoidable Demise is going to go up by the agenda, making it a bit trickier next time. And then for Diana, she gets a Fate of All Fools. I can Word of Protection this, and so I will. Yeah, I can Word of Protection this, so I will. So, for Trish, very tempted to play this in the shadows. After my turn begins, disengage from each enemy engaged with you. Until the end of the round, enemies cannot engage you, and you cannot deal damage to enemies. So this Heretic is just chilling at the location with me. Oh, I'm not supposed to have drawn that, because while I'm at the chapel, you're supposed to place cards, non-weakness cards from your deck. After you draw them, get placed beneath the chapel attic out of play. Okay, my bad. So the Heretic is engaged with me, and this is underneath the location at the moment. But that's okay. That's still perfectly fine. I think that does mean I'm going to do Diana's turn first, though, to see if there's something she can do about a little bit more tankiness. I guess the other option is to just take an attack of opportunity and try to investigate through this. And yeah, you know what? No. We'll just carry on here. We're going to take an attack of opportunity to investigate. We'll be at 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 8 against 4. First action. -3, so we get a card draw from Perception, and then this guy gets evaded from Trish's ability. We get a clue from the location as well. And then we're going to go 1, 2, 3, 4 for intel report for the other 2 clues. And then there's one more clue on the location, and we will just investigate. No, we're not going to investigate. We're going to... I don't want that Shadow Agent back, so this Laboratory Assistant's really dicey, but a little bit of extra soak wouldn't be the worst thing in the world, would it? I don't know. That's tricky. I think we are just going to investigate. Burning the Midnight Oil. 6, 7 against 4. And also, I think I should have already gotten my In the Shadows back. Yeah, after you successfully investigate, that card was supposed to be added to my hand. I'm doing the timing on this a little sloppy, sorry. So this is back to my hand. But we'll do an investigate 4, 5, 6, and 7 from that committed magnifying glass for the last clue. We do get the last clue. So now, next turn we can get this guy banished after playing in the shadows. Maybe we can even spend a clue. Let's spend a clue to look at that heretic's reverse side right now, just to see it. So this heretic is going to be what? It makes an immediate attack. The next time it's defeated, it's banished. So you just have to fight it twice. If Diana wasn't quite so bogged down with the Watcher right now, I'd almost think we could get this third one. That'd be pretty impressive. So we'll double mark him with blue to indicate, he needs to go to himself. Okay, Diana. What are you going to do? I think she's going to Azure Flame charge on this Screeching Banshee first. Goodness gracious. Can I use the cards, please? Thank you. That'll put us at a ridiculous amount against 3 for 2 damage. We do take a damage off of that, which is a little unfortunate. I don't think any of these really deal with that right off the bat. No, none of them really deal with that. That's okay. But that is 2 damage to him. Ah! Cards! Stop! And then we'll attack him with the Twilight Blade. 7 against 3. Second action. That guy's dead. Goodbye. Let's stop needing to deal with you, please. Finally, which of these are we going to do? I think the answer is that the Spectral Watcher is kind of a massive pain for me to deal with, and I think that we're just dodging and delaying the inevitable with this guy for a while. So I think that we just take an attack with the Twilight Blade again. 7 against 3. Just to get a little bit of damage on there. That's 1. Again, this guy does do stuff. Before my turn ends, I use the Twilight Blade to play the Delay the Inevitable for 2 resources. And then during the enemy phase, she attacks me, and I use the Delay the Inevitable to gain a card and a resource. Okay, another deny. That's pretty good to get. Also forgot to test the Bloodthirsty Spirits, and that's gone. Okay, upkeep for Trish. That does deal her a horror. But she's okay. She's okay. She does have the Laboratory Assistant as backup. And then Diana, the Arcane Initiate. I think that's just useless at this point. Not as useless as the Ritual Candles, though. 4 out of 7 Doom. Counter card for Trish. And the Heretic is engaged with her. Witchweed. Trigger each haunted ability on your location twice. You may give Witchweed Surge to place it in the standard encounter discard pile. Fortunately, there's no locations beneath the haunted attic. Oh, no, the last card I drew should be beneath this, shouldn't it? That's correct, yes. And so this hot streak actually is just in my discard pile, and this goes off. And then Diana gets a Malevolent Spirit spawning at the Chapel Attic or the Chapel Crypt. Oh, let's put him at the crypt so that Trish isn't quite so buried. And this clue I got. She also should have 2 less resources from this unfinished business in front of her. Okay, so not the worst thing in the world. A little pretty messy turn. God, those snapping points are just the worst. We're gonna play the In the Shadows for her, so that this guy is disengaged from her, and so we get to just do this unfinished business. So we're trying the unfinished business. We have no clues at this location. We're using what to do this. We are at 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 against 4 to banish this ghost. +1. Lucky Cigarette Case draws us a card. This heads to the victory display. In an old cobweb trunk, you find all sorts of items belonging to the deceased. The sight of a crow skull amulet dipped in metal causes the ghost to gasp. I'm sorry, sister. I'm sorry, weeps. And now I'm really tempted to just get on the getting the fuck out of here train. I don't think that we're getting another one before this is over, especially needing to use that in the shadows this turn to defeat this guy. I don't think much else is going to happen, so let's just take 2 move actions to depart. And as for Diana, I think she just takes a couple of swings against this guy. Azure Flame, a lot against that. That's 2 damage. Azure Flame, a lot against that. That's 2 damage. She is like defeated and double exhausted. And then Diana will also just move down 1 location. In the enemy phase, this Malevolent Spirit will hunt. We'll ready him now so we don't forget. For upkeep, we get a Cryptic Writings and a Holy Rosary, which we'll just put away immediately. 5 out of 7 Doom. Counter card for Trish. Last one of the game, hopefully. Watcher's Grasp heals 3 damage from her. Readies her, moves her, and it attacks as if we're the enemy phase directly onto Trish for 1 and 1. Kind of annoying, but I mean, we're leaving, so whatever. And then Diana Stanley gets a Watcher's Grasp. It moves, engages, and attacks as if it were the enemy phase. With okay, let's just cancel that. No, thank you. And then we both resign. First action for each of us. In your campaign log, record 2 heretics were unleashed into Arkham. 2 is the number of heretics enemies in play. If X is 3 or less, under mementos discovered, record Wisp of Spectral Mist. And we gain 4 victory from 2 from locations and 2 from the ghosts that we banished. I think there's a possibility that I could have pushed that harder, but drawing both of those Watchers... oh my god. I've already forgotten the name of it. Watcher's Grasp? Or whatever. Drawing both of them right at the end probably made it so that I would have pushed myself a little too hard to get this guy finished off. I guess there's a possibility that if Diana had just engaged it, let Trish do these big attacks or do the big attacks on the Heretic with Diana and just tank some hits. But I think it might have been tight if I pushed too much harder for that. Let's see what this one was. And this one needed to go to the Heretic's grave, which is the whole way across the map, so that wasn't happening. That's about as well as I can pull the scenario off, personally. I find this to be probably the single most difficult scenario to fully clear VP in like the game. Maybe that's a little bit of overstatement, but it's ridiculous. It's nuts. Seeing it happen in 4-player, obviously, is a lot more approachable, but in 2-player, man, I struggle really bad with this one. That being said, we're on a limited card pool. You know, where's our movement tech? Where's our like teleportation stuff? Where's me teching for this scenario at all? Not really, I don't think. So, can you do better? Yes. Is this acceptable? Yeah, hell yeah. Anyways, thanks very much for watching. Appreciate it. I'll see you next time.